Very good morning. It's 7 a.m. Welcome to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. We'll take your calls at 888-658-0234. Sunnier than yesterday, breezy, highs way up to the upper 50s. Head straight to English, right? Head straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta. First check of the Garden State forecast. I'm just giddy with the warmth, Mike.
It's so exciting. It's a great way to start off the middle of the week. Happy hump day, Ken. We're starting off with temperatures already in the 40s, and we'll keep it in the 40s, even climb into the 50s as soon as later on this morning. 39, a cool spot in Morristown, 37 in Toms River, but we will see all of these temperatures cross into 50-degree territory later on this morning. Now, there is a bit of a breeze around. It's not terribly gusty, but it's enough to notice. Anywhere from Hackensack toward Newark, 17, 18 miles per hour for you. 15-mile-per-hour breezes in Mount Holly. And yes, that does add a little bit of a wind chill, makes it feel like 31 in Flemington, feels like 27 in Sussex, but at least it's a few degrees warmer than yesterday in a few spots. Still same temperature as yesterday in Newark with no change there. Notice with all of the clear sky today, we start off beautiful and it stays nice and clear and sunny through today into the early afternoon. That's what helps these temperatures spike to 55 degrees in Toms River by the lunch hour, 55 in Trenton, and 53 in Newark. Even places like Morristown get up to 50 degrees by 3 o'clock this afternoon. Then a few clouds roll in later on this evening in advance of a little bit of rain tonight for northern New Jersey, but most of the rain that comes in for tomorrow happens statewide just in time for the morning rush. That's taking over from Cape May up towards Sussex, all across the state with those light showers lasting on and off throughout the day. So Thursday is going to be a generally wet day. You'll need the umbrellas through the afternoon. Temperatures will stay in the 50s, so it's not terribly cold, but it will be that raw kind of springtime feel, something you'd expect in late February or early March. Then it gets colder again for Friday. So while the next few days, at least tomorrow, is a little bit milder, the rain lasts all day, a little bit of a chill on Friday with a cool down briefly, but we're back in the mid 50s on Saturday with a very pretty start to the weekend. We'll tell you more about that springtime feel coming up just in time for March's arrival. Ken, that's in a few minutes with your next update.
All right. Mike, thank you very much. A little chillier where I am, by the way. We're still at 35 and a half. I'll just go shake the thermometer and hope it comes up a little. Thank you very much. A little threat. Hey, yeah, if I was you, Mr. Thermometer, I would just, you know what I'm talking about, just for nothing. All right, Mike, we'll check back with you a little bit, sir. 7:04 right now. And in traffic, we already have just some minor slowdowns to remind you about. GW Bridge to interchange 18W. We just have some slight slowdowns there, about 10 minutes because of volume at this hour. And usually when the sun rises and people are heading in one direction or another, eastern direction in the morning, toward New York, they see a little sun in their face. That causes a slowdown. We have a vehicle fire on I-80 westbound west of 64 Summit Avenue. That's in Lodi. 2 right lanes are closed, and we have an unanticipated construction delay, Route 18 northbound from Route 617 to Racetrack Road in East Brunswick. All lanes closed, everyone being detoured. We have a vehicle fire on 678 northbound ramp from Terminal 8 in New York. All lanes are closed, and we got a detour there. And we also have a crash and a utility pole down Route 322 in both directions, west of Route 54 in Folsom. All lanes closed there, and still have an emergency construction and sinkhole repair at I-80 eastbound exit 34, Route 15 in Wharton. We've been talking about this. Yesterday, we thought they were close to a fix. Now we find out it could still be a few more weeks. They keep digging down. They keep finding it goes down and down and down, and they have to fill all that before they could just put a veneer over. You don't want to be able to drive over that and have an issue in the future. Of course, we'll keep you updated on that. 7:05 right now, and Governor Phil Murphy delivered his fiscal year 2026 budget address yesterday. It was seen live here on New Jersey, and the governor talked about his administration's final spending plan with a focus on education. In fact, he talked specifically about schools. It's cut 4. Pam, could we play that?
With every budget we have introduced, we have provided record high funding for our K through 12 schools. And with our final budget, we will once again fully fund New Jersey's public education system. And we're also going to reduce volatility in the school funding process by ensuring that no school district sees a steep reduction in state aid from one year to the next.
So this is, of course, the governor's final spending plan being proposed. This is the last of his 2 terms, the end of his 2 terms. He outlined the administration's final spending plan, focusing on education, affordability, and New Jersey's future. But what does this mean for New Jersey's school districts and New Jersey families? Joining us now is Jacqueline Tobacco, who is the vice president of the Middletown Board of Education, to break it all down for us. Jacqueline, there was a lot to deal with yesterday. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. There was a lot to deal with, and I've not yet processed it all. But
how about I'll ask you some specifics. How about that? Because I know, because there was a lot.
Where do you want
That's
to
why
start?
I had to tell our director Pam specific sound bites because there was so much to pull apart there. Let's look up at this. You heard about what he was just talking about. You heard about education, obviously. What was the original reaction to how the governor addressed education funding for districts like Middletown? Because he likes to impose a lot of rules and regs, but then he doesn't give state money for the local districts to carry them out.
Yeah, correct. I mean, listen, since S2, we've all lost money. That's a fact. I think it is a complete misnomer for Murphy to always get out there and say he's fully funding schools. It's not true. He's trying to compensate for maybe last year's, losses, but it'll never be equal to what we have lost, what all the districts have lost over the S2 funding. So, those kind of things, I don't have much hope. I mean, districts were also told that their reductions in aid were only going to be capped at 3% less than last year. So, he's saying one thing to the districts and then another thing publicly in his narrative. And that to me was just one of the, it's just egregious. All of it's egregious. And we are all faced with trying to make our budgets work. We are on a fiscal cliff, all of us. You guys have seen other districts have been closing schools, cutting teachers, and Murphy continues to just put money in things that are unnecessary. I mean, $3 million allocated for cell phone policies and yonder bags. Middletown passed a cell phone policy recently. It didn't cost us a dime. Put your phones away for the day. Very easy. And there's consequences if you're taking them out in class. No need for all this money to go towards that.
Yeah, that came from those special pouches. We had on actually an assemblywoman
The yonder bags,
last week. Right. And she was saying how it helps to organize it. If you're with a smaller school system or a smaller school, it's easy to just say, put it away. When you're dealing with hundreds or thousands of students, this sort of locks them up for the day, and it just helps organize them. But she said that she dealt with it in her school in Newark, or just outside Newark. And they figured it out. They used bins. They had like old bins that they reused. They didn't have to go out and invest in these bags. It sounds like somebody's making money on those bags.
Absolutely, somebody's making money on those bags, and it hasn't been a problem. And in Middletown, I'll just say that when we passed this policy, there was a little bit of controversy, and the controversy was that parents want to be able for their kids to reach them in case of an emergency. So, it's a very common sense policy that we did, but it didn't take $1, not $1, to pass that policy. So $3 million, right? Put the phone in your pocket, put it away. If you're not, you're going to get a detention. And we've had no problems. We've had, really no issues. So, and we have seen an increase in attention in school. We have seen a decrease in some of the behaviors that were happening and the bullying on the cell phones and stuff. So it works, but, he just arbitrarily throws money at things that are whimsical to me, that are not necessary. And, it's where do we go from here? These kids are still suffering the effects of the COVID lockdowns. Absolutely suffering those effects. Our schools are not the top in the country anymore.
He also talked about the fact that he wants fiscal responsibility. So he's so fiscally responsible in this budget proposal that he has a hole of billions that he's hoping will get filled by the federal government, a federal government that's majority Republican and a president who's Republican, whom he has constantly disparaged, and he thinks they're going to go out of their way to come up with cash. But let's take a listen. Pam, cut 2, where the governor yesterday was talking about fiscal responsibility. Cut 2.
Today, I also want to take the opportunity to spell out in the clearest terms the difference between fiscal responsibility and fiscal irresponsibility. Because for far too long, our state's families have been failed by the reckless and irresponsible decisions made by previous leaders and generations of leaders on both sides of the aisle. And those years of failed leadership have come at a big cost for our families. So as I take this podium for my final budget address, I'm going to explain exactly what the consequences of those failures are for working New Jerseyans.
So he is proposing a budget that will have a gap, a shortfall of $26 billion that he is keeping his fingers crossed. We'll just kind of come up with it in the federal government. And a Republican president who really doesn't like him is going to say, you know what? Hey, Mr. President, would you be nice to me? Would you be nice to me? Even though I'm a lame duck and I'm on my way out, would you give us $26 billion? He's insane. I'm sorry to say that. I'll go on the record. He really thinks the federal government's going to come up with $26 billion, yet he's talking about fiscal responsibility and passing the blame to previous administrations.
Well, how responsible is it when he's putting school districts in the position of, he's doubling down on his DEI initiatives in schools? And we've been told by the federal government there will be consequences for that. There will be funding cuts for people that don't listen to what the executive order is. And Murphy is doubling down on that stuff. School districts are under fire, and we're kind of caught in the middle. And listen, it's just a bad situation. The NJSIAA and supporting males playing on female sports and in locker rooms. We are just in a bad situation from the rest of the country, and I can't see how he can expect that the federal government is going to bail schools out.
Well, especially the fact that the rest of the country has awakened to wokeness being a dead thing now, and this governor is doubling down on it. The idea that the country, everybody, we're talking about, the Democrats have been a coalition of every minority group and the every so-called oppressed group, et cetera. And yet you have, with the exception of one little tiny fragment of the LGBT society, everybody else that is part of the coalition that is the Democrat Party is saying, hey, stop the woke crap. Stop the transgender crap. We're done. Stop it. Let's just get back to being Americans and stop the silliness. But yet I'm going to double down because I'm Phil Murphy and I'm on my way out to have a legacy. It's just unreal. Yeah. So look, Middletown specifically has faced funding challenges in the past. You've talked about this now, and you have some board members pointing to state formulas. These state formulas that you need to have a PhD in math to figure out, shifting costs to local taxpayers. Now, does this budget offer any kind of relief at all to help balance the books locally, or is it just going to be a total disaster for the folks locally?
No, I mean, it still goes back to, fair local share. It still goes back to, depending on where you live, how much the taxpayers they have an adequacy formula. So what the state believes that Middletown should be able to contribute to their budget is not the same as it is everywhere else. I mean, we're looking at every year we've been increasing the budget. We take our tax cap. They've increased the health tax levy. I mean, he does lots of interesting tricks, but the basic premise is still that every child does not receive the same amount of funding. And we're all questioning why. Why does every child not have that same number attached to them with supplemental for special needs, for ESL, for, low socioeconomic? Why is there not Abbott districts? Why is there not one basic amount of money that follows a child from district to district? So, there's a lot to deal with. And I mean, I can go on and on too about Newark School Board. I mean, I don't even know how many hundreds of millions of dollars they get in funding. The kids can't read. And now his big initiative yesterday is to lower the voting age to 16 and 17 for school board elections. Right. That blows my mind.
Yeah, this is he doesn't let 16 and 17-year-olds do a lot of things, but yet he wants them to vote for the school board. You're literally, I mean, not to sound disrespectful, it's the inmates running the asylum. You get a kid who's ticked off that he can't get or she can't get a certain snack at lunch, and they're going to vote out a school board member who is likely a parent who knows best for the child. It's beyond me. Yet the same liberals on the left are for school boards who are not parents, telling parents that their kids should be able to transgender and not be aware that it's happening in school. This is the left's insanity. And you know what? I'll tell you what, Jacqueline, let them keep it up. They will never win another election on the planet. They are
I
crazy.
agree.
They think we're nuts. They didn't see that we won with 53%. They're nuts. They're nuts. And let it
No,
keep
I
happening.
agree. I agree. But this is part of this to me is all part of a very scary it's some kind of whether it's an agenda or a trend that they're pushing. It's very scary to see the constant lowering of an age of
Right.
consent to things in our school districts. And
Because
and the opposite. Listen,
I'm going to jump in.
yeah,
Jacqueline. I think there's a creepy backdoor reason for it. You have groups on the left who are for legalizing sexual encounters with kids under 18. You know that those groups exist.
I do
and
know
there's
that.
a term
I do
for
know
it.
that.
I don't even want to talk about the term for it, but it's about making it okay for adults to be close to kids. And so the idea of at first, look at the way it works. Remove the authority from the parents, put it into the educators in the school system. Now the kids are who do they have to talk to? They have to confide in the adult in the school system, right? And now you lower the laws. You say, oh, you're 16, you could vote. So now let's have the age of consent be 15 or 16. Before you know it, it's just going to get lower and lower. This is disgusting and it's creepy. And you're right. I think there's a slip slide into this, and this is all part of the left's kind of twisted mind.
Yeah, it's scary, and to me, it's like we have to always, especially from my point of view. And I understand what you're talking about a kid in the voting going against a parent, but look at it the other way. I mean, and listen, I am a board member, but as an incumbent, if I was running right now and my kids in Middletown had the right to vote at 16 and 17, as a board member, I have full access to those schools whenever I want it. I'm the one who helps give out scholarships to kids. We can influence the kids in a million different ways, and that is a power dynamic that shouldn't exist. There should not be a power hold over a child like that, where, and I mean, you see what goes on in how people try to get votes. And now we're going to sit here and let the NJEAs in these schools every day. They're going to be pushing who they're, the chosen candidates for board. It's absolutely a mistake to do this and to continue to empower kids to be treated as adults when they're not. They are still minors. And I don't believe that we should be empowering them to vote at 16 and 17. It's just, it's
you
a
have
very
to think about
slope.
it. So have we not had people voting up to this point? Like what is the sudden need to I tell you what, why don't we expand it? If we're going to expand it down to 16, expand it to 11, expand it to 10. At what point do you stop? Why don't we just allow illegal aliens live here? Their kids are going to the school. Let the illegals vote. Let everybody vote. But just don't let the parents who are paying the taxes vote. Let them not have a say. Let's let everybody else have a say, though. They're crazy. They're crazy. I'm even late here because I'm ranting.
Sorry.
Which I'm good at doing here, Jacqueline. It's not your fault. It's mine. You've previously championed projects, by the way, like the turf field replacement at Middletown High School North for student safety.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's an important thing. Does this budget provide any support for critical infrastructure upgrades like that, with the parents in your district spending what they're spending in taxes?
I mean, we haven't gotten the details. Within 48 hours of his budget address, we will know what our state aid will be for the this year. So, happy to let you know when I find out what our state aid is. But we're not hopeful. I mean, we're projecting flat, but it could also be a decrease. Charge our taxpayers to get projects done. That's basically what we all hold on to, and we try to do what we can and not make too many cuts and not affect the program. Most importantly, I mean, the actual education of the children should be the most important thing. And instead listen, we had to pass a policy last night to do another unfunded mandate for the grief bill, to put grief learning into high schools. Stuff like the legislators to do this all the time, these unfunded mandates. Like it's not as easy as, just, start teaching the kids. It involves in writing a curriculum and learning and pulling time away from other subjects. So it's just, it's just another rant of mine, but we just keep having these unfunded mandates and it doesn't get any easier.
Yeah, and it must be very frustrating to be a vice president of a school board and have to do everything based on let's hope, let's keep our fingers crossed. That's not a way to help.
And let's break it to our taxpayers. Basically
right.
That's where we're
right.
at.
Call you and ask what's going on, and you don't have an answer because of the nonsense. Right. And it starts from bad leadership right at the top.
Yeah,
we are out of time. Jacqueline Tobacco, Vice President of the Middletown Board of Education. We love having you on. You come on anytime you'd like. Hopefully things will get a little. Fingers crossed.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day, Rob. Bye.
You too. 7:21. Pam, we're going to blow the break. All right. Just letting you know, giving you a heads up here. So we'll get Mike ready. This is how we do it. We do it live. Other news, we had more winning from President Trump last night. The House passed the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill, teeing up enormous tax and spending cuts. The budget vote cleared the way to enact major elements of President Trump's domestic agenda and escalated a bitter fight among lawmakers over what federal programs to shrink to allow major tax cuts to be enacted or to continue. There were a number of tax cuts enacted under Trump back in 2017. They're due to expire, and this plan would renew them. Now the bill heads over to the Republican-controlled Senate for what's called reconciliation, so they'll give a little, the other side gives a little, all in hopes that two houses can approve some version of this measure. But this is a big first step, and it passed by 2 votes. 7:22. Meanwhile, the leftists over at Apple, they think they're funny. Apple says they are now working to fix its speech-to-text tool after some social media, no, a lot actually of social media users found that when you speak the word racist into your iPhone, what pops up is the word Trump. They think that's cute. They think that's cute. And they think that no one's going to catch them. The tech giant first suggested, oh, this wasn't intentional. It was just because the dictation service has a problem distinguishing between words that have an R in them. Trump and racist, yeah, they sound so much alike. So next time you go to buy an Apple phone, keep that in mind, that the folks at Apple think that's cute. 7:22. Oh, by the way, they did issue this. We're aware of an issue with the speech recognition model that powers dictation, and we are rolling out a fix today. I just have a question. Why is it that whenever there's a fix that's needed, it's always in favor of bashing Republicans and it's always in favor of liberals? You never have like the word racist shows up as Biden or Harris. No. It always shows up as Trump. Just a coincidence. And there have been hundreds of these coincidences. Just keep that in mind. 7:23 right now. And we know there's a man who knows all things New Jersey politics. David Wildstein has the inside edge. Oh, no, but we have the tape too, I was told. We don't? All right. I was told last night we did. So David Wildstein will have an inside edge, but he will be live. So why don't we do that? Mike Favetta, I could see off on the side. He's saying, Ken, did you have your coffee yet today? Mike Favetta, I did not have my coffee. And this is you see what happens? You see what happens when I'm caffeineless?
Spring fever.
It's
a little maldi testa because it's such a beautiful day. You kind of thinking about, what am I going to do tomorrow? What am I going to enjoy? So many great things to do. You got to take that walk. Clear the head, Ken. Get out and enjoy with this amazing weather.
I'll see you later. Take it easy.
It could also be, Ken, it could also be the allergies because pollen is on the rise. This is something that happens this time of year, especially when you see the buds on the trees starting to show. It's all in response to longer daylight hours. And we've seen the earlier sunsets, the earlier sunrises, the later sunsets. And now we enjoy the spring warmth. So there's this lovely weather that comes in, driven by the jet stream. So here we have the polar jet stream, which keeps that Canadian chilly air locked up to the north. We are enjoying the subtropical jet stream, which brings in a very pleasant feel. And New Jersey's in that lovely shade of orange, bringing back a nice mild feel over the next few days. Now, granted, it also comes with some rain, which is typical of March, especially with those showers that arrive throughout the day tomorrow. And with that, a little bit of a bend in the jet stream by the end of the day will allow for more of those clouds to stick around with some more showers into the end of the day. You see them here on the Futurecast, but first, we've got to enjoy the beautiful sunshine that's around for today, keeping it nice and dry, keeping it sunny with temperatures well up into the mid-50s. Then by tonight, that's when the showers come in the northern sections of New Jersey, a very chilly rain. Most of the state is covered with rain by the morning commute tomorrow. So it's a wet day on Thursday, but we climbed to 61 in Newark, so a chilly rain, but it'll actually feel quite mild in comparison. 62 tomorrow afternoon in Hackensack. With that rain lasting throughout tomorrow evening, it quits and exits by Friday, bringing back lots of sunny, dry weather for the end of the work week, but also quite a bit of a cool down just in time for our Friday afternoon. Here's the wet weather that comes in. It's working in from the west, slowly but surely moving across New England and arriving here later on tonight, helping the air quality as well. There's a little bit of a poor air quality down toward the southwestern corner of New Jersey, but that should improve by day's end, especially into tomorrow. Central Jersey's forecast today, 57 in Toms River. We'll take it. 54 in Point Pleasant. Usually a touch cooler with that wind off of a 38-degree ocean. Ocean water, cold this time of the year is the end of February. So it's pretty chilly, especially with all of those breezes coming in off of the water again tomorrow. Now, with Sunday's weather turning nice and sunny, it's a colder finish to the weekend. So we start off dry, a few extra clouds around on Saturday, but a beautiful start with temperatures milder in the upper 50s again. And then we cool it down with a chilly breeze out of the north and west by Sunday. So a mild start to the weekend, a chilly finish, and another round of mild weather comes in for next week. We'll tell you all about it, Ken. That's coming up with the 7-day forecast in just a bit.
Now, let me take a swig of coffee before I let you get off screen. Hang on.
You need the high octane stuff. Get the espresso, man.
Yeah, see, I put a lot of cream in my coffee, so today it's kind of watered down. I think that is the problem. I'm glad we're thinking this through on the air. That's a good thing. All right, Mike. Thank you very, very much, sir. It is 7:27, and let me look over here because now I've totally discombobulated the whole plan. Work with me this morning. Work with me. All right. So it is traffic. That's what we got to do. We have a crashing utility pole down on Route 322 in both directions west of Route 54. That's in Folsom. All lanes are closed and detoured, so use caution for that. Vehicle fire on I-80 westbound west of 64 in Summit Avenue, I should say, in Lodi. 2 right lanes closed for that. And we still have that emergency construction on the sinkhole on I-80 eastbound at exit 34, Route 15 in Wharton. That's going to continue now, we're told, for another few weeks. Sorry, folks, you got to do the detour. It is 7:28. And the New York Red Bulls are coming off a fantastic year in 2024, making it all the way to the MLS final. This Saturday is their home opener against Nashville Soccer Club on New Jersey's Lisa Marie Falbo. Had a chance to speak with one of the Red Bulls star players, defender Noah Eile.
How excited are you to start the season knowing what you guys accomplished last year?
No, obviously very excited. It's going to be very nice to come back to our home stadium. And as you said, we want to do better this year than last year. So, we're very excited.
And by the way, your stadium is now Sports Illustrated Stadium. How cool is that for you?
Yeah, it's very nice. I like the old name as well, but this one is very good.
How different does the roster look from last year?
And obviously we made a lot of good additions, got a lot of experienced players in who's both been in this league for a good while, and also players coming from top leagues in Europe who's played at top level for a lot of years. So we're very excited about them, and I think they are not only great players so far, they've also shown they're great characters in the team. So we've made a lot of good additions, and also kept a lot of the players we had from last year. The roster is looking great.
That's amazing to hear, because having a good core is so important, and you certainly have proven to have that based on your success in 24. Let's talk about how hard you have been training during the off season. How much do you feel you've grown over the last year?
First of all, we've trained very hard. It's been very tough, but I think that's great. I think our style of play definitely requires a lot of physicality, so I think it's important that we work very hard, and I think we have a group who loves to train hard every day. So it's been a good preseason, and I think you've grown massively over the last year. Obviously moving here last year, living away from home for the first time. So you grow a lot as a person, as a player. We're looking forward to this season now.
I want to ask you about coming here, living in New Jersey. What has that been like for you?
No, it's been great. I think the people are very nice, very friendly, both in the team, but also people that you meet outside the pitch. So I think, I think the people have been great and welcome me very nice to how everything works here. And I think it's been great so far.
Well, one of the things I know they must be so excited about, the fans, is that the Red Bulls will be honoring longtime goalkeeper Ryan Mira at halftime after 12 seasons with the club. How much has Ryan meant to the organization?
Yeah, obviously I've only been here last year, but only what I could see, only 1 year, you could see the impact that it had on, for sure, the dressing room. Everyone who comes in, he was very welcoming for me when I first came in, being here so long, and also you could see for the whole organization how much respect everyone has for him, and I think hopefully that will show in a great tribute for him, because he's certainly earned it for everything he's done for the club and for the whole soccer community, I would say, in New Jersey.
So how does the team feel going into this matchup against Nashville SC?
No, we're very excited. I think we had quite a good performance this Saturday against Cincinnati. Obviously, we didn't get the result that we wanted. So I think everyone's very excited to hopefully get the win and show the home supporters that we're ready and we're ready for the season.
Noah Eile of the New York Red Bulls, thank you so much for coming on the show today, and best of luck this season.
Thank you very much.
That's our Lisa Marie Falbo with Noah Eile of the Red Bulls. And I just love, he's Swedish, by the way. And I love how you can come from every other country on the planet and they all speak pretty darn good English. Yet we go to every other country and we're like, I know 2 words of Spanish. It's amazing. It really is amazing. Like, we should all just make it our goal to at least learn one other language pretty well. It helps you think in English better. All right, just saying. That's my rant for the morning. Well, one of many. 732, 35 degrees. Phone lines are open, by the way. We'll take your calls at 888-658-0234. When we come back, meteorologist Mike Pavetta says even sunnier than yesterday. It'll be a little bit breezy, highs way up to the upper 50s. The full Garden State forecast in a moment. You're watching On New Jersey Morning, seen daily on ONNJ.com, Roku, Fire TV, News On, Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, YouTube, Facebook, and X, and now streamed live on Rumble and Twitch at twitch.tv/On New Jersey. We're coming right back. And a very good morning to you. 36 degrees where we are in northern New Jersey. Parts are much warmer than that. We always stay a little colder where I am because of my ice cold dark heart. 7:33. I'm Ken Rosato. Welcome to On New Jersey Mornings. Sunnier today than yesterday. A little bit breezy. Highs in the upper 50s. Meteorologist Mike Pavetta has the detailed Garden State forecast. Maybe, Mike, the sunshine and the warmth today will warm that icy cold heart of mine.
It's the sun, the rays of sun that'll do a nice job to warm you up. It's going to feel pleasant later on today. Other than the clouds that we had yesterday, it was generally a pretty start to the day with a milder finish. Well, today we get that sun earlier, so I think it'll hit our mild high back up in the mid-50s even earlier this afternoon. It's a beautiful day, lots of sun to enjoy. Clouds arrive later on in the afternoon, probably around 3-4 o'clock at the earliest, leading to our rain tonight and tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a very rainy day, although milder still. Some places in New Jersey will reach 60 degrees. Then the bottom falls out from under us. It's chilly again by Friday with cold weather to start our weekend, but it turns mild for Saturday, cold again on Sunday. We get this seesaw effect every few hours with the dramatic changes in the weather. Notice temperatures today up near 60, Egg Harbor City, Hamilton, Millville, rapidly climbing into the upper 50s today. Slightly cooler along the coast with that southerly breeze coming off of an ocean temperature in the 30s. It'll feel quite chilly along the immediate shoreline. Today's high on average gets to 58 degrees here in New Jersey, 13 degrees above average. We'll enjoy every degree of it. And then later on tonight with our sunset at 5:45, those sunsets getting later and later. We are about 2 weeks away from from that sunset happening after 7 p.m. How about that? Now, with the clear sky today, nice and dry, we stay beautiful, but there will be some rain that returns throughout tonight into tomorrow, and that raises our rain chances well up into the 60% range by tomorrow. A very tiny chance of rain only for northern New Jersey by Saturday, and then going into next week, maybe a small chance by Tuesday. So it's dry going forward, and the rainfall totals really aren't that impressive. Even though it's a pretty rainy day tomorrow, rainfall amounts will be less than a half an inch statewide. So just a light round of rain coming in will improve the air quality. Anytime we have the stagnant air that's been around with the southerly breeze, tends to bring in poor air quality. That's why this number above 50. Anytime it's above 50, like down toward Millville and Medford, where you see those numbers in the 60s, that's poorer air quality, but it's only moderate. It's not terrible. Clearer air across the rest of the state with that number below the 50. With the highs that will climb well into the 50s today, it'll feel fantastic. Lots of sunshine this afternoon. Here's our rain with the warm front that comes in for tomorrow. It'll give us our wet weather throughout the afternoon, and then clearing occurs for Friday. A nice dry way to start off our Friday and Saturday, but it's another round of reinforcing shot of cold air for Saturday evening that makes it feel colder by Sunday. So while there's more clouds on Saturday and sunnier by Sunday, it's still a cooler finish to the weekend with temperatures dropping off significantly. So here's our highs that are climb well up into the 50s, near 60 tomorrow, and then cooler by Friday. A little bit milder on Saturday with those extra clouds, but then a shock to the system, dropping another 20 degrees in just a day, going from Saturday to Sunday. And we stay in the 30s for Monday before turning a little bit milder by Tuesday. Now, as I mentioned, with a little bit of a southerly breeze down the shore, highs a touch cooler there, especially along the shore points. These are the beach locations that will keep temperatures a little bit cooler. Not as chilly by Friday, 47 for you, but still that big chill from Saturday to Sunday. Nobody can escape that cold going from the start of the weekend to the finish, rebounding to 40 by Monday and still dry going into early next week. So, Ken, a nice trend taking us into March on a quiet note. At least there's no snow in the forecast, so that's a nice change.
I like those trends of yours. Thank you very much, Mike. It is 36 degrees now at 7:38. And in traffic, a crash now on the Garden State Parkway northbound at exit 138 in Kenilworth. The lanes are open, but just watch through that area. You know you're going to have some rubbernecking delays. We have a crashing utility pole down on Route 322, both directions west of Route 54 in Folsom. All lanes are closed and people being detoured off. And we have that vehicle fire we talked about earlier, I-80 westbound west of 64, which is Summit Avenue, exit 17, or I'm sorry, Route 17 in Lodi. Two right lanes closed. Finally, still have that emergency a sinkhole repair on I-80, and that is eastbound by exit exit 34. Just beware that that's going to be going on for some weeks. It's 7:38 now, and Governor Murphy delivered his final budget address yesterday and preached fiscal responsibility while asking for support of his $58.1 billion funding plan, the highest in New Jersey's history. The address was broadcast live here on New Jersey. The 2026 fiscal year plan includes funding for some programs that residents have responded positively to, like the Anchor Property Tax Rebate Initiative, while also adding new programs geared toward attracting reproductive health care professionals. He also talked about the cost of living. Pam, could you please play cut 3?
And as we all know well, right now, the single biggest challenge facing the people of New Jersey is that the cost of living is way too high. From the farms of Cumberland County to the streets of Jersey City, far too many New Jerseyans are living with deep uncertainty and anxiety about their economic future. Whether it be the skyrocketing cost of eggs or a housing market that is hotter than ever, our state's working and middle-class families are worried on a fundamental level about being able to make their future in the Garden State.
Now, the proposed budget includes a structural deficit. That means there will be a gap that anticipates getting $26 billion in federal bailouts. The problem is there is no guarantee such a bailout will ever come. 7:40, one of the best high school wrestlers in New Jersey history has been disqualified. According to a report on ONNJ.com, three-time state wrestling champ Anthony Knox from St. John Vianney High School has been disqualified from the New Jersey State Interscholastic Athletic Association wrestling tournament for his alleged involvement in a brawl that took place in the bleachers at the District 25 tournament in Collingswood Saturday. Not yet known what led to the fight, but video appears to show Knox and his father participating in the melee. Again, one of New Jersey's finest wrestlers. It's kind of sad to see that. 7:40, President Trump announced a new path to U.S. citizenship yesterday, a pricey gold card. Yep, the U.S. is going to sell gold cards for $5 million a piece. The president said, quote, wealthy people will be coming into our country by buying the card. They will be wealthy and they'll be successful and they will be spending a lot of money and paying a lot of taxes and employing a lot of people. And we think it's going to be extremely successful and never been done before, close quote. Many on the left, though, are screaming that this gives an unfair advantage to wealthy people. But these same liberals never said a word about the unfair advantage that tens of millions of poor people had when they fled to the U.S., claiming refugee status and they were allowed to stay, by the way, specifically because they were poor. So why is it okay and somehow virtuous if you're poor and coming to the United States and you get in for free? But if you're wealthy and you're wanting to pay millions in taxes and millions to build a business and millions to help other people out when you get here, that's somehow not virtuous. We look down. We've been trained in this country to treat wealthy people who've achieved their wealth in many cases, honestly, in most cases, we treat them with disrespect and we don't want them, but we want poor people to come when we really can't take care of them because we're trillions in debt. Let's bring in some more wealthy people too. How about that? 7:42, the Washington Times is reporting that new leadership at the FBI has begun an investigation into the origins of the agency's plan to infiltrate the 2015 campaign of Donald Trump using two female undercover so-called honeypot agents. The off-the-books investigation launched by former FBI Director James Comey was revealed by an agency whistleblower to the House Judiciary Committee last year. Now, the term honeypot refers to an undercover woman, usually, who pretends to be attracted to a target in order to gain information. She takes him out for a drink, haha, you're handsome, blah, 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 and then plies him to get more information. According to the whistleblower, two female FBI undercover employees infiltrated Trump's first campaign at high levels and were directed to act as so-called honeypots while traveling with Mr. Trump and his campaign staff. The question is, why? And who authorized it? What were they after? The whistleblower says there was no specific reason. Says James Comey was literally on a fishing expedition. In other words, let's just spy on Trump, hoping he'll slip up and say or do something we could then catch him on. And by the way, nothing ever happened, which tells you a lot. In other words, Comey weaponized the Justice Department under President Biden against an innocent private citizen attempting to make up a crime, and then reverse engineered it to make Trump look crooked. Of course, the whistleblower said that Comey never dreamed the plot would ever become public. It has now. You could be sure this is just the beginning of this story, because that is an abuse of office and against the law, too. 7:43, word is a major ethics investigation will be launched against liberal U.S. Senator Sheldon Whitehead after it was uncovered that his wife was earning money from environmental causes that Whitehead was voting to fund to the tune of tens of millions of dollars. That's right. My wife works for this organization. Let me take your taxpayer money to fund that organization so they could hire my wife and pay her a lot of money. That's apparently what happened. The Foundation for Accountability and Civic Trust, or FACT, sent a letter to the two top lawmakers on the Ethics Committee requesting an investigation into the fourth-term Rhode Island liberal Democrat. FACT alleges Whitehead's wife made close to $250,000 from Ocean Conservancy just last year alone, not to mention other years past, after the senator approved millions in federal funding for the environmental organization. 7:44, looks like President Trump may have already kept his promise to end the war in Ukraine. Listen up, President Zelensky is headed to the White House this Friday to sign that minerals deal the president spoke about that liberals berated as a dream that Ukraine would never agree to. Remember, Zelensky said he would never agree to it. Apparently he has. Had a little change of mind. Zelensky is now expected to come here and sign the rare earth minerals deal that will help Ukraine repay at least part of the hundreds of billions of dollars the U.S. gave the nation in cash and military supplies, much of which cannot even be accounted for, by the way. About $100 billion that we sent to Ukraine, they have no idea what happened to it. As part of the deal, Ukraine would not become part of NATO. Russia would be allowed to keep at least some of the land they've occupied for several years, and then we would get the deal with the minerals. The deal would be worth about $500 billion to the U.S., which helps when you're trillions in debt. but would finally end the bloodshed between Ukraine and Russia. The war would be over. By the way, rare earth minerals, for those wondering what they are, they're necessary to make lithium batteries, which are essential to make what? EVs, electric vehicles. So if you're one of those liberals who wants to see the U.S. get off of gas-guzzling cars and into EVs, you should be applauding President Trump, because now we'll have the ability to create lithium, which this country does not have a lot of lithium. So now we will if we get these rare earth minerals. It is now 7:46. President Trump has reignited interest in the construction of the Keystone Pipeline, calling for an immediate start on the project. The pipeline would funnel oil from Canada to Midwestern and southern states here. It would mean not having to transport oil by train, which is expensive and can cause spills. Plans to build the pipeline in Montana and South Dakota were shelved by the Biden administration, but Trump wants it started ASAP. The company that started the project left the U.S. after Biden canceled the pipeline's construction. Isn't it amazing how Biden was able to cancel contracts and nobody complained, but when Trump cancels contracts that Biden did, everybody takes him to court? Just find that cute little double standard. Trump says that they were treated unfairly. He's asked them to return and restart the project. It would be part of the president's plan to bring lots of inexpensive fuel back to the marketplace to lower everyday costs for Americans. And the Biden administration may have compromised your safety in the air to help illegal aliens. The TSA documents that were just recently uncovered show the Biden administration actually lowered the standards of identification if you were an illegal alien and you wanted to fly alongside U.S. citizens. So you needed to take off your shoes and belt if you were a U.S. citizen. You needed to show ID multiple times, occasionally get body searched embarrassingly. But people who are here illegally who strolled across the border, they were allowed to bypass most of that. They were permitted to use unverifiable forms of U.S. issued ID to get through security, ID like court appearance tickets given at the border, as agents were ordered to let these illegals in. The only problem is border agents had no way of vetting illegals at the border. So illegals would get these appearance tickets to show up in court. All they would be asked is, what's your name? Where are you from? How old are you? Why are you here? So you could say anything. You then get a court appearance ticket. That little court appearance ticket was what the Biden administration has been allowing illegals to get onto planes with. Many of them come from not just South American and Central American countries. They come from Asia, China, Russia, Cuba. We don't know who these people are, and that's what Biden was allowing, to let these people on planes to fly next to you while you were having to take off your belt and your shoes. Finally, tea has long been among the most popular beverages in the world. Our director, Pam, loves it. Now scientists say the beverage may actually provide a surprising health benefit. Your morning cup of tea, or iced tea too, could be removing dangerous contaminants from your water. A new study published in ACS Food Science and Technology found that tea leaves naturally absorb heavy metals, filtering out harmful water contaminants like lead, cadmium, or arsenic. The study goes on to suggest that tea may go on to help remove those heavy metals from your blood as well. So it doesn't have to just be the tea leaf. Drinking tea may actually help clear out your blood, like people thought for hundreds of years. 7:48 when On New Jersey Mornings continues. New Jersey Globe editor David Wildstein joins us live to talk about Governor Murphy's last proposed budget plan. Plus, meteorologist Mike Pavetta returns. Sunny and breezy today, sunnier than yesterday, highs in the upper 50s. We're coming back in 2 minutes. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings at 7:51. I'm Ken Rosato. 36 degrees where I am. It's about 39, 40 degrees in much of North Jersey, and it's going to get really nice today into the upper 50s, more sunny than yesterday, and just a little bit breezy, but not so bad. A day you'll enjoy to go outside for a little walk. Let's just confirm that. Meteorologist Mike Favetta, who said I had a mal di testa before. That means a headache in Italian. That's because I haven't had enough caffeine yet. Let me get my Pomeranian mug. Wouldn't you love that for Christmas? A Pomeranian mug?
That is very nice. Very, very nice way to start the day. It's all about the gorgeous sunshine and the temperatures that a warm 20 degrees, Ken, from where they are right now. So a very pleasant feel. Yeah, it'll feel nice. You can almost go out and like get a suntan today.
I'm going now.
You won't need all of the heavy winter coats.
Bye.
It's going to feel fantastic. Those temperatures well above average, and yet we'll see the highs stay in the upper 50s and even low 60s tomorrow, albeit it comes back with some rain. So this afternoon in West Milford, 50 for you, 55 in Hackensack. With that milder feel this week, of course, we have that rain that comes in later on tonight that lingers through tomorrow, and that's what will give us that round of wet weather throughout the course of our Thursday. Fast forward to Saturday, because it'll be just sunny on Friday. There will be some extra clouds around with that mild feel returning just for a day, and then the front slides through Saturday night, which provides a clearing of our skies, but also brings back another round of chilly weather, which takes us into a colder start to the beginning of the weekend. Now, with Saturday afternoon, we'll climb into the mid-50s. It'll feel fantastic. It's Sunday that cools off quite a bit. 36 only as the afternoon high. So that chill returns, and notice the wind shift. We bring in a lovely southwesterly breeze at 12 miles per hour, pumping in some of that milder feel. Well, when it switches direction and blows from the north and west, it dries out, cools down, and we lose 20 degrees in just a matter of hours. We'll tell you more about the rest of the week's weather coming up with the 7-day forecast and kind of a sneak peek at the climate outlook into the first week of March. Ken, that's coming up in just a bit.
Look at you with your climate outlook over there. I'm just so proud of you. You're good. You should be a meteorologist. Oh, never mind. All right, Mike. Thank you so much, sir. It is 37 degrees now at 7:53 where I am, 40 degrees everywhere else in North Jersey. I just happen to be in a cold spot. That's, again, we talked about that before. We do have a little bit of traffic to tell you about. We got a crash on the Garden State Parkway northbound, south of exit 135. That's Central Avenue in Clark Township. All lanes are open, but people are rubbernecking as they go through. Emergency construction on that sinkhole on I-80 eastbound at exit 34 in Wharton. All lanes closed. Everybody's still being detoured. Crash on the Garden State northbound, north of exit 138. That's 3 exits away from the last crash. It must be the sun. You know what? When we get bright, sunny days, sometimes it's as bad in terms of causing accidents. It's sometimes as bad as when we have snow because people are distracted from the incredible sunshine. So that could be the case. I'm just guessing. But again, that is northbound Garden State Parkway crash at 138 in Kenilworth. All lanes are open, but again, it's going to cause delays passing through that. We have a crash and utility pole down on Route 322, both directions, west of Route 54 in Folsom. All lanes are closed and everybody's being detoured there. Use caution. And again, we have another problem on I-80 westbound, west of 64, a car fire or a vehicle fire. We don't know if it's a car or a truck. That is at Summit Avenue, Route 17, Lodi, 2 right lanes closed there. And then we have some delays on Route 17 southbound from Route 4 in Paramus to Passaic Avenue, Rochelle Park. Current travel time's about 5 to 10 minutes. So just a little bit of a delay. That's one of the better spots actually right now. So we'll keep you updated on traffic as well. Murphy delivered his final budget address yesterday and preached fiscal responsibility while asking for support for his $58.1 billion funding plan. That's the highest in New Jersey's history. The address was broadcast live here on New Jersey. The 2026 fiscal year plan includes funding for some programs that residents have responded positively to, like the Anchor Property Tax Rebate Initiative, while also adding new programs geared toward attracting reproductive health care professionals. He also talked about pensions in the state. Pam, if you wouldn't mind playing cut 5.
For year after year, our state's leaders abandoned this obligation because, simply put, it was the easy way out. But the truth is, you can only kick the can down the road for so long, because sooner or later, you end up having to pay, and pay bigly. And when it comes to our state, just making sure you're paying attention. And when it comes to our state, and in particular this budget, we now have to pay a multi-billion-dollar annual penalty for the irresponsible decisions made by previous generations. So what do I mean by that? Well, if the state had made the full payment into the pension system every year over the past quarter century, the cost of doing so this year would be roughly plus or minus $1 billion. But because we were stuck with yesterday's bar tab, it now costs us around $7 billion every year to make the full payment into our pension system. And yes, that should make every New Jersey taxpayer see red.
And how about 16-year-olds voting?
And in our ongoing efforts to protect the fundamental rights of every New Jerseyan, our budget will also defend our most fundamental right as Americans, the right to vote. Over the next year, we're going to work alongside our rockin' Lieutenant Governor and Secretary of State, Tahisha Way, to continue protecting and expanding voting rights with a particular focus on youth voting rights. Our budget will provide grants to municipal leaders all across the state to create new opportunities for 16 and 17-year-olds to vote in local school board elections. Just as they are already doing in our state's largest city, the brick city, Newark, New Jersey.
Well, the proposed budget includes a structural deficit. That means that he wrote the budget not accounting for where $26 billion in federal aid will come from. He's anticipating that he'll get $26 billion in federal aid from a Republican House, Republican Senate, and Republican president whom he has bashed repeatedly. He's now guessing that they're suddenly going to have a change of heart and say, you know what? You're a radical leftist liberal in a mostly blue state. We'll come up with $26 billion for no reason, even though we're 30 trillion in debt. Yeah. The problem is, again, no guarantee such a bailout will come. Time now is 7:58. We have 37 degrees in northern New Jersey. When On New Jersey Mornings continues, New Jersey Globe editor David Wildstein will join us. He will talk more about Governor Murphy's last proposed budget plan like only he can, because if there's anybody who can break it down best, it is David Wildstein. And meteorologist Mike Pavetta will return. It'll be sunny, sunnier than yesterday, in fact. Another nice day. Breezy, highs in the upper 50s. We're coming back in a minute. And a very good morning. It is 8 a.m. Welcome to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato, taking your calls at 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. Sunnier today than yesterday, and yesterday wasn't so bad at all. A little bit breezy today, highs in the upper 50s. Straight to the guy who knows it better than me, meteorologist Mike Pavetta, with a detailed check of the Garden State forecast. Good morning to you, Mike.
Ken, it's almost time to break out the alfresco dining forecast, whether it's going to be good to have lunch outside or evening. I think we might have to do that going into next week, because with the beautiful amounts of weather that comes in today, even though it rains tomorrow, but Saturday looks nice, we're putting an end to our ongoing drought in central New Jersey. It's been plaguing the central portion of the state, and I'll show you why with the amount of rain that's shown up there. The southernmost portion of New Jersey still showing up in red. That's the extreme drought because of the rainfall deficit for you, but still, given how there have been some of these reporting stations that have come in with above average rainfall amounts in the last 30 days, that's some good news, especially toward Mount Holly and Toms River. Places up north will stay dry, at least for the next few days. Again, tomorrow's rain isn't going to do much to put a dent in the drought, but we'll see at least a little bit of an improvement even going forward. We're still running about an inch below average for the last 30 days. But we've basically caught up across central and southern New Jersey with those recent rains. So some good news there. Now, the temperature outlook taking us into the first 2 weeks of March show equal chances of warmer and cooler weather. So not much change there, but at least in terms of the precipitation, we should see slightly higher than average rainfall amounts, and that's going forward into the first week of March. So we'll take every drop that we can get, even though if it means a rainy day here or there. And that's what's on tap for tomorrow. Pretty wet weather throughout the day on Thursday, with temperatures mild in the upper 50s, even 60 in some of the cities. It won't look so great, but it'll feel quite pleasant. Won't be harshly cold. Chilly weather comes back on Friday, but we warm it back up for Saturday with extra clouds. And then later Saturday evening, as a front pushes through, we lose 20 degrees. So it'll feel chilly by the second half of the weekend. Monday and Tuesday starts off next week rather dry and cool. The shore point's a little bit cooler thanks to that breeze coming off of a 38-degree ocean temperature. So as that breeze blows in, whether it's from the north and west, which is usually cool and dry, or from the south and east, where it's pretty chilly as well, you'll kind of sucked in by that chilly weather. Something that usually happens in March. Again, with that cool feel. A little bit of a cool down as well from Saturday to Sunday, and then we start to warm back up by early next week. So all in all, Ken, beyond tomorrow's rain, not a terrible 7-day. We'll keep it sunny and bring back the warmth day by day.
And Mike, you know what? I was talking about this, and I think you could probably concur. It's bright sunshine out there right now, correct?
Yes, bright sunshine. Something we haven't seen, like a bright sunny morning like this in a while. And remember, we're adding about 3 to 4 minutes of daylight each and every day because of the way the Earth orbits around the sun, all the astronomy. That's allowing for the early morning commuters to have more bright sunshine in their faces as opposed to 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Now, I mention that specifically because we have a spate of accidents, and I'm noticing it's all on eastbound roadways. So I'm guessing the bright sun that people have not been used to is literally in people's faces, and they're not paying attention, or they can't see cars cutting them off, because that's too much of a coincidence. I literally have it spaced.
Take a look at the cars parked on the street, how dirty they are. And when you get that sun glare on the windshield that kind of obscures your view with this opaque shade of gray, because we haven't really had the opportunity to wash your cars. We've had these little, spritzes of rain every few days, kind of accumulating the dirt on the cars. So I'm sure it all plays in. When you turn that corner on an interstate and you get the bright sun in your face, you see it. Everybody slams on their brakes for, whatever reason. But yeah, it could be some causing accidents.
I'm guessing that's too much of a coincidence. We don't have ice, obviously, so that's probably what it is. All right, Mike, we'll check back with you. Thank you. And just to run down the traffic, we have an overturned vehicle now. Serious accidents here. I-78 westbound in this case. Remember, the glare could be in your rear view or in front of you. So either way, it's the east-west roadways I'm seeing this on. Overturned vehicle I-78 westbound east of exit 29, which is Route 202, 206 in Bridgewater Township. 2 left lanes closed. We also have a crash on the Garden State Parkway. This is northbound south of exit 135. But if you look at a map, it's actually where it curves a little bit toward the east in that area. That's why I'm talking about the east-west glare in your face. So again, this is Garden State Parkway northbound south of 135, exit 135 in Clark Township. All lanes are open, but again, watch out as you pass that crash. We have emergency construction on that sinkhole, I-80 eastbound, exit 34, Route 15 in Wharton. All lanes closed and being detoured. Crash on the Garden State Parkway northbound at exit 138 in Kenilworth. All lanes are open again, but people are rubbernecking through there. Crash and a utility pole down Route 322, both directions west of Route 54 in Folsom. All lanes closed, people being detoured. Vehicle fire on I-80 westbound, west of course, my script just popped. Stop it. Keeps popping. Stop it. They're updating it, and that just takes it off my screen. Vehicle fire I-80 westbound west of exit 64 Summit Avenue, Route 17 in Lodi. 2 right lanes closed. Let's see what they just added as we're talking live. That's it. Those are the updates. I think they took something off. That's why the screen popped in front of me. 8:06 is our time. Of course, we'll keep you updated here on New Jersey Mornings as the traffic keeps updating as well. Governor Murphy delivered his final budget address yesterday. He preached fiscal responsibility while asking for support of his $58.1 billion spending plan. One of the things he talked about yesterday was planning New Jersey's future. Pam, if you wouldn't mind, cut 1.
Over the past 7+ years, with the help of everyone in this chamber, we have begun building a New Jersey that is stronger, fairer, and more prepared for the future. But though we have come far on this journey, let me be absolutely clear, we have not reached the finish line yet. Because today, at a time when working families have been pummeled by rising prices and the noise of chaos and confusion in Washington is louder than ever, the reality is the working people who keep our state moving cannot afford to slow down.
The governor's address was broadcast live on New Jersey yesterday with promises of affordability, economic opportunity, and fiscal responsibility. The budget aims to shape New Jersey's future, but what does it really mean for taxpayers? Joining us now is David Wildstein, editor of the New Jersey Globe. He was the one who had to endure having a headache to break all this down better than us, thankfully. David, good morning. Thanks for joining us. What is your initial takeaway on this $56 billion+ proposal and how it balances priorities, affordability, opportunity, and fiscal responsibility?
You know, Ken, I usually look at this initial budget message in February as just the starting point. You have to think of this as a play. Yesterday was just the opening monologue in the first act, and what was unveiled by Governor Murphy, that's not going to be the budget. It may resemble it. There may be pieces in it that will remain, but a lot's going to get changed. They've got to now go to the legislature, and you have a Senate Budget and Appropriations Committee chaired by Senator Paul Sarlo. You have an Assembly Budget Committee chaired by Eliana Pinter-Marine. Those committees are going to now bring in the other characters, the commissioners, the budget people from the different departments. They're going to have to sort of sing for their suffer as they defend these programs against legislators who have their own priorities. The key is what you heard yesterday was what Phil Murphy wants. This is an election year. It's not just an election year. It's a gubernatorial election year. It's not just a gubernatorial election year. It is it is one in which there is no incumbent running. There are going to be a lot of people here who want to have a say in this budget, and we haven't heard from them yet.
Yeah, and we have an outgoing governor who doesn't really care, so he has a $26 billion budget gap that somehow he's assuming will get filled by a Republican House, a Republican Senate, and a Republican president who he's disparaged over the years repeatedly. And he's assuming that now the President will say, let's go to Congress and let's find $26 billion for New Jersey when they can't make up their minds on how to spend it. I just find that amazing. How he could have the chutzpah to even suggest that at a starting point. To me, that's just shocking.
Yeah, the one thing about Phil Murphy here is, of the Republican statewide officials that Donald Trump doesn't care for, Phil Murphy's at the bottom of the list. They have a decent working relationship, and that started during COVID. And what you can't get away from is if these cuts are just done out of Washington across the board. I think about a third of the anticipated revenue in this budget, about $28 billion, comes from the federal government. If that drops sharply between now and the passage of the budget in June, who knows what's going to happen? Then you're going to have draconian cuts. You're going to have potentially tax increases. The one thing I don't think, Ken, you're going to have in an election year is there's no appetite by Democrats or by Republicans to see a budget shutdown in July when their names are on the ballot in November.
That I'm sure we can all account on, I should say. You got that right, David. Governor Murphy emphasized making life more affordable for New Jersey families, which you don't usually think of affordability and living in the state of New Jersey all in the same mind. But how do you see this budget directly affecting taxpayers' wallets, whether through taxes, relief programs, or just everyday costs?
It's 22 billion more than where it was 16 years ago, I think, and people want to get a bang for their dollar. They're more concerned about their property taxes. That's where it's hitting them. So and that's the easiest thing to cut from a state budget is the municipal aid, what goes to local school systems, what goes to municipalities that keeps property taxes under control. There are so many moving pieces here, and unless you have the governor and the legislative leadership all on together, and you spend a few hours with them in some marathon interview, we're just way too early to get an idea what's going on here. And these numbers change. It's fluid. We have to see what's coming in from DC. And remember, this is all based upon revenue projections. It's not like New Jersey saying, okay, we made X number of dollars last year, so here's what we have in the bank that we can spend going forward. If those revenues are off, it changes everything around. And I'll tell you, one of the tricks, Ken, and I've been watching this for a long time, is a lot of times they hold back some good news on the revenue projection so that they can come back in April and say, hey, everybody, we have actually more money coming in than we thought we would, so it won't look as bad as we think it was going to.
Yeah, that's their little ace in the hole, right? So they keep that,
Right.
and it's one part of the game, part of the dance, and
It's
that's
theater.
politicians
It's
on
just
both
theater.
sides. Yeah, it
Yeah.
really is. It really is. There's
Yeah.
a lot of moving parts, and one big headline, of course, is the corporate transit fee. Which
Yeah.
did it really ever go to transit? Is the question. Supposedly to fund New Jersey Transit, targeting businesses with profits over $10 million. Critics might call it a tax hike on success. And again, how much of it actually does finance transit? Because a lot of it has not, correct?
Yeah, correct. And look, one of the hidden secrets in New Jersey budgeting is what is the difference between a tax and a fee? I remember Governor Christie was adamant in his first term. I'm not raising taxes. I don't care what happens. I don't care what you throw at me. I will not raise a single tax. But fees and tolls and fares and all those other things that you could pretend to look yourself in the mirror and say, well, that's not a tax. Those all are on the table because they sound better to the voters. And we don't know what's happening in Washington. That's much more important than what's going to be happening in Trenton. So much is dependent upon the generosity of the federal government. Congressman Gottheimer likes to talk about moocher states, places like Louisiana and Arkansas and Mississippi that take out a lot more than what they put in, and he's talked about clawing back money from the moocher states in order to get Jersey its fair share. This is going to be a system where you're going to have to watch your federal officials make sure that they can claw back some of the money so that they're not left having a bad budget in an election year while the moocher states are putting in new programs that don't help Jerseyans.
Well, you forgot terms like tolls and surcharges. Those are also taxes, right? Tolls and surcharges, but you don't call them taxes. They're euphemisms or synonyms for taxes, but they are taxes. Let's just face facts.
Yeah, there's got to be some Shakespearean thing there, right? Of a tax by a tax is, by any other name, it's still a tax, right? I mean, the bottom line, Ken, is if it's not in your wallet and your money is now sitting in some government coffer, I don't know that you fully appreciate that your taxes didn't go up, but your fees went up.
Oh, wait. We forgot the word investment. It's an
Yes.
investment. It's always an investment when they confiscate your money and spend it on what they want to spend it
Yeah.
on. It's an investment. But when you want to save, when the government says, "All right, we got to cut the expenses, we're going to cut taxes and give the money back to you," then you have many members on the far left, not Democrats, but the far left, who call that a cost. It's going to cost the government money to give you back your money. No, that's my money to begin with. How about you spend less of my money? It's not going to cost you. You are the one costing me. I just love it's a whole different mindset because you have one group of people who looks at money as the property of the government, and you're allowed to have a little bit of it. And the other side looks at money as wealth that you create, and you allow the government to have a little bit of it to run. And it's somewhere in between that we get government.
Yeah.
Property tax is always a hot topic, and the budget, of course, promises record level relief. I'll believe it when I see it. Programs like Anchor and Stay New Jersey or Stay ONNJ are front and center, of course. Are these measures enough to ease the big burden we have here, or is this more just political band-aid silliness as Murphy wraps up his tenure?
No, I think they all help. It's just that it's not a perfect solution, and a lot of times when you're dealing with a budget, you have to find the best imperfect solution you can. And Governor Murphy, to his credit, he's done some really really good things on budgeting, where he's funding the pensions because it's just too expensive not to pay your bills and rack up huge amounts of interest. And he's really done a lot of work over his first 7 years on improving New Jersey's credit system. It's credit ratings that allows New Jersey to borrow money for less than they had in the past. These are some forward looking things. I'll predict to you, Ken, without taking sides, because that's just not my job, but you're not going to see Phil Murphy's place in history for another, could be 10 to 20 years if these fiscally responsible, not sexy headline things like funding pensions and improving the state's credit rating really do have a lasting effect down the road. Everybody likes to kick the can down the road on these things and get things out of an election year. He's been a little bit more responsible, and he takes a lot of abuse for it. But and you've got legislators on the Republican side as well as the Democratic side. What's happening in Washington scares the bejeepers out of them. I can say bejeepers on your show, right? I'm a Jersey.
You can say bejesus. I'm good with bejesus.
Yeah. I'm a Jersey guy, and I forget sometimes these things come out sort of naturally, and I catch myself. But Republicans are frightened too, because you've got a lot of Republicans in tough legislative districts, and they're not going to want to hear. It's not my fault. It's happened in Washington. It happened with Democratic majorities in the New Jersey State House. People are held accountable for these budgets, by the way, if they know about them. So, this is my usual plug for On New Jersey and some others with a shrinking media, with newspapers, not even newspapers anymore. Now they're online publications, but with a greater interest in where to get a good deal on a vacuum cleaner than really covering the budget in detail. I don't know how many voters in New Jersey are really going to understand the nuances of what's happening here.
And that's the thing. I think Governor Murphy, that's his strength. He was a corporate CEO. He ran one of the biggest corporations on the planet. This is what he should have been focusing on. The problem is when you get into the minutia, which many on the left, by the way, plenty on the right do this too in local politics. Yeah. But many on the left, they find it necessary to nanny state everything and come up with all these little rules and regs for local businesses and local school districts, but they never come up with a way to finance it and fund it. That's the kind of stuff that if Murphy didn't focus on that kind of silliness and just focused on what you're talking about, I'm sorry to point. I was told stop pointing. All right, I'll stop pointing. It's rude. My mother said, you're pointing the monitor too much. If he just focused on what you're talking about, the fiscal responsibility, the planning for the long term, the budgeting, that's what his forte is. Do that and stop the minutia nanny state rules and regs ordering local school districts and to deal with stuff. I think he'd have been a much more successful governor.
Well, he's also got to deal with the legislature who, these are people, I could start, growing up in the New York metropolitan area, we all speak Yiddish. It's just something that comes out. So, there's a word called ganef. It's just somebody who's always got a schnorrer, people who've got their hands out all the time. So I can't tell you how many times I've seen over the years these conservative legislators, liberal legislators, all of whom are arguing for their own communities, and they want their taxes lowered, and they want to be able to go out there and campaign saying that we are fiscally responsible, regardless of whether you're Democrat or Republican, left or right. But at the same time, they have the three words that governors hear most often when they meet with legislators is, by the way. Hey, Governor, I need you to cut this. I need you to cut that. By the way, I've got this really nice program in my district, and it's only $4 million. Nobody's going to notice another $4 million. And, what was that? Was that line that Everett Dirksen had? A billion here and a billion there. And
Right.
after a while, it starts to seem like some real money. And that's what
Unreal.
governors and legislators face with.
Yeah, Dirksen, the famous senator. Absolutely. That is amazing. And you're right. And it's every damn politician. I've had them in my own family, by the way, elected
Yeah.
politicians. And you're right. By the way, it's always the line that comes
Yes.
because it's always okay. The money you spend is needed. The money they spend is pork, right? It's always the
Exactly
case
that.
because it helps
Yeah.
you get reelected. That's the key. And just finally here, the governor touted a $6.1 billion surplus as a buffer for tough times ahead, to kind of put money in the bank, right? From your perspective, does that say that that's a responsible, good thing, fiscal strength? Or do you think that he's worried about a huge downturn down the line should the economy take a downturn?
I think both are correct. And, one thing, again, not wanting to give Phil Murphy too much credit here, but the easiest thing in the world for a term limited last year governor in his last budget is to dip heavily into the surplus so that you could preserve your legacy and go out with high approval ratings. And he's shown a level of responsibility. And by the way, when you get to this is my by the way, Ken. By the way, when you get to the legislative aspect of it, Democrats and Republicans on the budget committee, whether it's Sarlo or Declan O'Scanlan, Eliana Pinter-Marine, they are all responsible shepherds of public dollars. There's nobody in this process that is hapless and careless and looking to just raise people's taxes. So you start out from a good point where you want to get this negotiation. Quite frankly, for people like you, a taxpayer, the very best thing about this budget in bad economic times is that it's an election year. And nobody's going to want to mess with Ken Rosato or his family or his neighbors in an election year because you don't know how that's going to turn out.
Yeah, you know what? And I must say, prior to doing this show and talking to the assembly members and the Senate members, because when I was in New York, we talked about the governors, and then we left the local newspapers to deal with, or the News 12s of the world, if you will, to deal with the local or the assembly. Now that I've dealt with assembly members and senators one-on-one, you tend to form a different mindset. You realize they're moms and dads, they're local people, they have their own jobs, they're part-time workers in the state state legislature. And you're right, I have opened my heart, and I definitely do have a much more caring feeling for our state lawmakers, because a lot of it is thankless work that they're dealt a tough hand that they have to come up with solutions with. So you're right, and I say God bless you, David Wildstein, for all the years you've had to cover it and the minutia and the details. And that's why I've learned so much just by talking to you and listening to the Inside Edge every day. I'm not kidding, and I'm not blowing smoke. I'm going to wrap it as the truth. You could be a professor teaching a class on this, and it would be a world-class class. The events that we have coming up in New Jersey, specifically the FIFA World Cup final is coming. That's going to bring a fortune. Will that create or help to create a better legacy, if you will, for the outgoing governor in terms of money and income, or is he just very, very lucky to have that?
I think it will. It's this morning I did a video and it was about man plans and God laughs, and I remember we said the same thing about the Super Bowl, and talk about legacy. Chris Christie, not my favorite guy, so I don't have to be objective with him, but Chris Christie walks into MetLife Stadium for the Super Bowl and he gets booed by tens of thousands of people. So bringing the Super Bowl to New Jersey was just an opportunity for more people to tell him he was a crappy governor. These economic development issues, like bringing massive events, they're really good for the state. They should be good. I mean, the one that we're not getting enough coverage of is because it's not present. It's not something that we can hold in our hands right now. But the turning of the Fort Monmouth, the old Fort Monmouth base, into a Netflix studio, that's going to be really good for New Jersey.
Mm-hmm. I think so too. That sounds like a lot of fun. I think that'll draw people from all over the region. Philly, New York, everybody would come down for that. So that's going to be very interesting to see. David Wildstein, truly one of my favorites ever, editor of the New Jersey Globe. I can't thank you enough for joining us this morning. Please don't be a stranger, and we'll catch you on the inside edge too each day. We appreciate you.
My pleasure. Thanks, Ken.
You bet. Enjoy the day. It is 8:27, and just a little story I want to repeat. We did a little earlier on tea. If you're a tea drinker, and our director Pam, another one of my favorite people, is a big tea drinker, and so now we find out there are some huge health benefits. We've always thought of tea as healthier, if you will, than coffee for you. There are health benefits in both, by the way. Coffee is not that bad. Just watch it if you have heart issues in terms of overstimulating your heart. But if you don't have a rhythm issue, coffee's not that bad for you. Tea, long been one of the most popular beverages on the planet, one of the most drunk beverages anywhere, right? Now scientists say that tea may actually help remove contaminants from the water, heavy metals. So if you are and heavy metals, by the way, you don't have to go out of your way. You don't have to lick a piece of steel to get heavy metals in your system. It's in the water sometimes. It's in some of the vegetables that you eat that absorb the heavy metals that are in the soil, et cetera, and you don't even realize you're ingesting it. Problem is, certain heavy metals are bad for you in higher quantities. Well, tea apparently is like a sticky glue in your blood when it comes to heavy metals, like a magnet. And it seems to, from their preliminary studies at the ACS Food Science and Technology, that's a study published in that, says that tea leaves naturally absorb these heavy metals, filtering out harmful water contaminants like lead, cadmium, or arsenic. Those contaminants can cause brain damage, developmental issues, et cetera, in children. So drink tea. It's good for you. And it does have caffeine, but it's lower in caffeine, by the way, than coffee. So Pam, our director, who's a mom, listen to your mom. She knows what she's talking about. It is 39 degrees now. It is 8:29. And when New Jersey Mornings continues, we're going to be talking about students continuing to receive failing grades in spite of enormous spending on education. We will look at some of the reasons why. And meteorologist Mike Pavetta returns. He has a sunny and breezy forecast. We're also taking your calls at 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. You're watching On New Jersey Mornings, streamed live on ONNJ.com, Roku, Fire TV, News On, Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, YouTube, Facebook, and X. And we're now live on Rumble and Twitch. Just go to twitch.tv/On New Jersey, all spelled out. We're coming right back. Good morning. It is 40 degrees at 8:30. I'm Ken Rosato. Welcome to On New Jersey Mornings. Straight to meteorologist Mike Pavetta. A sunnier, slightly windy, and milder Garden State forecast. Good morning to you, Mike.
Hey, Ken, we've got a pretty mild day ahead with the sunshine that's around this morning, arriving earlier than this time yesterday, not only due to the earlier sunrise, but there were clouds around this time yesterday. With the sun, we start off at 46 degrees, 45 in Hackensack, which turns out to be our average high for the day. So already seeing that big jump in temperatures, and with a little bit of a breeze out of the west, it feels slightly cooler. Not a terrible wind chill because those gusts are only up to 15 miles per hour, but it does knock off a few degrees. Feels like 39 right now in Long Branch, and same for you in Toms River. Through this afternoon, as temperatures from 8:30 yesterday, already 2 degrees warmer now than they were at that time yesterday. We'll see that nice milder trend take over with the clear sky all throughout the morning. Even from last night, didn't have much. It was a beautiful, clear night, leading to a beautiful sunny start to the day. So nice and dry through this afternoon, and that will allow for lots of warmth to return across New Jersey today. Temperatures by 1 o'clock in the mid and upper 50s. How about that? 56 over in Trenton, 58 in Mount Holly, 59 in Camden. Lots of sun throughout the afternoon, even 51 up in Morristown, making for a pretty finish to the day. Then the clouds take over this evening. Some rain moves in tonight, and that sets the stage for a very rainy day tomorrow, with that rain lasting pretty much all throughout the day as that wet weather lingers into tomorrow evening. Then we head into Thursday night, and the clearing takes over again, but a colder start to the day on Friday, and Friday looks to stay pretty chilly with temperatures average, climbing up into the mid-40s. Enjoy the sun and warmth today, even though it's mild still tomorrow. There's rain pretty much all day long, on and off. Friday turns dry and clear, but we start off the weekend mild at 56 and turn still cooler with sunshine on Sunday. So the weekend looking pretty decent. Nice weekend to get outdoors and start some spring activities. I saw that the garden centers already putting out their plants, but be wary. We still have some frosty mornings ahead, so not wise to put the things in the ground just yet. The potted plants, however, if you have to bring them in one night if it gets cold, that's always welcome, especially with those warm, sunny afternoons.
You know what remember the weather guy you and I both worked with at that other channel?
Mm-hmm.
He used to always say, gosh, I just don't ever let him know I'm quoting him because his ego will just go. He
It's
used
okay.
to
We only
always
stream in New
say,
Jersey.
thank God. He used to say, wait till Easter. And I used to say, but Easter's different every year. And he said, God has it all figured out. Wait till Easter to plant your plants in the ground. And son of a gun, he's always right. Every year he's nailed it. Like Easter, it's like Easter is the point at which after that, we might even have snow on Easter, but after Easter, it's always good.
And the one year I didn't listen to him, I had to set up the heating lamps above my zucchini plants in late April because I was afraid they were going to die from the frosty weather in the morning. So,
I'm going to throw another wrench in the works. Do we know are we talking Catholic Easter or Orthodox Easter? They're
right.
Different.
That's true.
Oh my! All right, or you could throw in Passover too. I mean, it's just all confusing now. Now I'm just okay. Whatever. All right, Mike. Thank you very much, sir. It is 8:33, 40 degrees now, and in traffic, we do have some traffic issues today. We have a crash on the Garden State Parkway northbound, north of 82A, which is Route 37 west in Toms River. All lanes are open, but there's going to be some rubbernecking through there. We have a crash utility pole down on Route 322, both directions, west of Route 54 in Folsom. All lanes are closed and people are being detoured eastbound. Lanes are closed westbound entirely, though. We have an overturned vehicle, I-78 westbound, east of exit 29, which is I-287 in Bridgewater Township. 2 left lanes closed. Crash on the Garden State Parkway northbound, just south of exit 135 Central Avenue in Clark Township. All lanes are open, though. We still have that emergency construction and sinkhole on I-80 eastbound at exit 34, Route 15 in Wharton. All lanes closed and people are being detoured. And on the Garden State Parkway, there's a crash at exit 138, which is Route 509 in Kenilworth. The lanes are open, but there's rubbernecking. And we also have a vehicle fire still being worked on I-80. Let me find out where. Of course, my script just popped here. Let's see. Vehicle fire I-80 westbound, west of exit 64, Summit Avenue, Route 17 in Lodi. 2 right lanes closed there. 8:35, and recent test scores show that New Jersey students have not recovered to pre-pandemic achievement levels of learning. However, the same state testing results show that public charter schools continue to make significant achievement gains all across the board, but especially for students of color in under-resourced communities throughout New Jersey. Joining me now is Harry Lee, President and CEO of New Jersey Public Charter School Association. Thanks for joining us this morning, Harry.
Thank you for having me, Ken. It's great to be here.
You bet. Well, this is a significant study here. New Jersey and many other states suffered, of course, the significant learning loss in schools because of the COVID lockdowns. A lot of kids just weren't focused on the at-home computer, and they didn't have the interactivity, social skills, of course, being with other students. Where does our state stand in returning to pre-pandemic testing achievement levels now?
Listen, I had a kindergartner during the pandemic. It was tough sledding, and I understand that across the country, there were massive losses in learning, and we're still recovering from that. Recently, the National Assessment for Educational Progress came out with a report, and New Jersey still lags behind. We're about 29th in the nation, I believe, in terms of catching back up with the pandemic. And so it hit every single community hard, especially communities that were educationally disadvantaged and low-income families as well.
Well, let's talk specifically then charter school students. How are they faring in New Jersey when it comes to math and English testing scores compared to the public district school peers?
Absolutely. And Ken, I know you know this, but charter schools are public schools. They are tuition free.
In New Jersey.
Yes, in New Jersey, they are public schools. Across the country, they're public schools, and they have to serve all students. We have 86 charter schools in the state of New Jersey, serving 63,000 students and another 30,000 on waitlist. So there's strong parent demand. And the reason for that is because of the excellent results that charter schools are producing for students and families. We know that Black, Latino, and economically disadvantaged students in public charter schools are outperforming their statewide peers in every single grade and subject. And I have to brag about Newark. I'm going to give you another example here. In Newark, where we have 20,000 charter school students, 80% of whom come from low-income backgrounds, they are outperforming the state average in reading 2 years in a row. And so
it seems so unfair then. Why don't we just change I'm sorry to step on you, Harry. Why don't we just change the whole system? My mom was a teacher. She worked years ago. This is in New York. She was in Montessori, which is a whole different approach and I know Montessori is not practical for the large term because Montessori deals with students who are of different ages working together just based on where their own mental state is. So you could have a fourth grader with an eighth grader, but if they're at the same level, they work together. That's the way that works. I know you can't do that when you're dealing with hundreds of thousands of students, but if the charter school structure just seems to work so much better, what is the reticence? Is it the teachers union? What's going on?
Yeah, we would agree with you, Ken, that public charter schools absolutely strengthen communities. And there is a lot of noise, we'd say, on funding especially, right? Because money follows the child into the charter school. And we believe that our public education resources do not belong to institutions, but they really belong to students and families. And so we do not want to get into the us versus them discussion. We want to make sure that every single child in the state of New Jersey has access to a great school. And that means that we need to grow excellent public charter schools. And part of the challenge here is that the Department of Education holds that contract with each charter school. They run on 5-year contracts, and the department decides which charter schools can grow, and some charter schools that are lower performing may be closed.
So what is the difference? Like what is it? And I know I'm really painting with a broad brush here, but I'm or at least asking you to do so. But what are some of the key differences, if you will, in charter schools and how they are structured and why they're outperforming other public schools academically? So what is the big secret in charter schools?
One piece is that they are the most accountable public schools in the state of New Jersey. On the flip side, they have more autonomy and flexibility compared to the district counterparts. And so, for example, they will have flexibility over curriculum, staffing, and budgets. And in exchange, if they're not performing, they can get closed. So I think the accountability piece is critical. The second big piece is longer school day, longer school year. The more time you have to catch kids up who are behind, the better it is. On average, charter schools their school years are 20% longer because they have an extra hour of instructional time during the day. That's another 33 days of learning every single year in our charter schools. That's another key piece. The third piece I would say is really teacher training and development. We spend a lot of time, our charter schools spend a lot of time training our teachers and using innovative practices. One key component is embedded tutoring throughout the school day. We know that high impact tutoring really helps. Our schools have figured out a way to reschedule their student schedules and are embedding that throughout the school day and not just after school. And so those are some of the key components of why our schools are doing great.
Brilliant. I want to jump on the first part that you talked about, and that was the longer school day, if you will. When I was with another station, I used to do a lot of work with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Patterson and Passaic. Wonderful organization, by the way. Love them. And one of the things they do, people think, oh, it's just a place for kids to go play basketball after school. No. In fact, they only are allowed to play basketball like 30 minutes if they've done everything else first. They are literally an after-school school. A lot of people don't realize that. The teachers from school districts volunteer their time to come and teach a lot of the classes that are taught in school. So these kids get on a bus after school and they go to the Boys and Girls Clubs of Patterson and Passaic and then literally take more courses that they feel weaker in their school, much like the charter school, what you're talking about, where you have tutoring through the day. This just makes so much sense. Because if a kid is falling a little behind in one subject, it could mess them up in every subject because they are focused on trying to get caught up on that one subject. So then they end up not paying attention to the other subjects. So having a tutor available at their disposal that parents don't have to spend, parents don't have the money to spend that extra money for, and having it right there just makes so much sense. And it's just not fair for so many of these kids, especially kids who are poor, minority kids. It's just not fair. They're already dealt a bad hand in life, and then to have a crappy school or poorly managed school. And I'm not blaming the teachers here. It's just the way the system is set up. It's just so unfair. So the idea, it bothers me when you have the light being shown from charter schools on how to do it right. And then you have people stuck in their ways who refuse to say, yeah, let's go that direction.
Absolutely. I mean, our charter schools are using data to really drive instructional practices. And exactly what you said, Ken, they are differentiating instruction, personalizing learning so that every single child can thrive. And the results are incredible. We have one of the best public education systems in the country. And right now, charter schools, where a lot of economically disadvantaged kids are outperforming the state average. And that is just an incredible testament to the work of our teachers and our school leaders. And we want to continue to keep moving that forward.
Amen to that. Finally, Harry, let's talk about funding. New Jersey's urban districts, of course, called the Abbott districts. They got a huge amount of taxpayer funding per student, but their outcomes have been horrible when it comes to testing and graduation rates. So what level of funding parity do charter schools have with New Jersey public schools? I remember there was how many hundreds of thousands of dollars or $1 million granted to Newark schools years ago. Whatever happened to that money? Remember there was a celebrity who donated, or no, it was Mark Zuckerberg. I think it was $100 million he gave to Newark. Whatever happened to that money? I mean, did we see any positivity from it?
So what we've seen across New Jersey is that when charters are in communities and they grow, a rising tide lifts all boats. And so I gave you the Newark example. In terms of funding, charter schools are getting about $4,000 less per pupil than traditional districts are. And charter schools also do not receive facilities funding. And so that is really our biggest gap. We need to get more money in the hands of our teachers and in classrooms and increasing teacher pay. And right now, charter schools are spending about 10% of their operating budgets on facilities. And so that is really the gap. Charter schools are doing more with less, but we want to see fairness and equity when it comes to school funding.
Yeah. It's just a matter of results. The fact is, doing more with less, it almost doesn't even matter. I think a lot of people would say, look, we'll spend $35,000 a student if the student's going to graduate brilliant and have a future. But we're spending that kind of money more in the New Jersey school systems than in many other districts. It's in the top 10, I know, per pupil spending. And yet we see lower and lower results in the regular public schools. We see all these positive results in the charter schools. I just hope lawmakers wake up and school boards wake up and that charter schools become the model that we can follow so that the students will benefit down the line. Harry Lee, President and CEO of New Jersey Public Charter School Association. Thank you for joining us. Please come back. Do not be a stranger. We want to see you again here on New Jersey Mornings.
Thank you, Ken. Really appreciate your time.
We appreciate you, sir. Have a good day. It is 8:45, a very sunny and a little breezy today. Highs in the upper 50s. Meteorologist Mike Pavetta will have details in just a moment. And we'll take your calls at 1-888-658-0234, 888-658-0234 on New Jersey Mornings. We'll be back in a minute. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. It is 8:47, and we are taking your calls at 888-658-0234. I thought I had somebody there for a second. No, I thought I did. We just lost him otherwise. Mike Pavetta standing by with a sunnier than yesterday, but slightly windy and upper 50s Garden State forecast. Good morning to Mike. I thought it was my earpiece. That's why I stayed quiet, Mike. I'll keep chatting then for a second. I was looking over here thinking it was my earpiece off. I'll keep talking. Let's see. I'll say this is Mike talking right now. Gee, Ken Rosato's the nicest, most handsome guy ever. Boy, oh boy, I love working with him on New Jersey. Oh, okay, I'll stop now.
All right.
Here's meteorologist Mike Pavetta with the Garden State forecast.
Could have done mime weather for this morning. Go figure. But it's so lovely outside. It's spring fever. Even the microphone's like, you got this. It's so nice out. You don't need me. But actually, the rain that comes in tomorrow, I think, will be a pleasant surprise for those that are looking for some not only warmth but a little bit of more wet weather around here. Need to get some of the dust off the car tops, considering how dry it's been. Well, the cold weather takes a little vacation off to the north. We enjoy a lovely mild feel with that subtropical jet stream, allowing for that mild weather to move in throughout today. We enjoyed it yesterday, and we even get it again tomorrow, albeit with some rain. That wet weather that comes in, showing the rain here all across New Jersey with that upper level system pivoting through. It's like a kink in the atmosphere that will bring back the threat of some wet weather beginning late tonight and taking us all throughout tomorrow afternoon. So the futurecast shows it well, with temperatures today climbing rapidly into the mid and upper 50s. Look at that, 60 degrees across some locations here in southern New Jersey. Then later on tonight, as that front pushes through, it brings in the rain, and that rain gets going overnight, lasting into tomorrow morning and lingers throughout tomorrow afternoon. So it's a generally wet day with some on and off showers all day tomorrow as temperatures climb into the mid 60s along the coast. It'll really feel mild. Then later on tomorrow night, as that front pushes back, we bring back a drier, colder feel for Friday. It'll be sunny, but it'll also be quite chilly with that rain that moves out and brings back some cooler weather. So here's the wet weather right now, currently over the Midwest. It trods along and makes its way across New Jersey later on tonight, and then keeps us quite wet for the day tomorrow. Air quality a little bit lower in the southwestern corner of the state, but I think as the day goes along and those breezes get going, those numbers should improve. 57 and mostly sunny in Toms River, a really pleasant feel. But again, if you find yourself along the Barrier Islands there, to Seaside and even over toward the Beach Island State Park, Island Beach State Park, you'll probably feel a little bit cooler thanks to that wind coming off of a 38-degree ocean. With the Futurecast long range taking us into Saturday and Sunday, we're back to the dry weather throughout this weekend, albeit it's milder and cloudy on Saturday and sunny and cooler by Sunday. So kind of take your pick there going into this weekend. Speaking of the weekend weather, we've got a beautiful feel around throughout Saturday, 56 and sunny, but colder with more clear sky by the end of the weekend, 36 degrees, wrapping up this weekend with a cooler feel. I think there's milder days in the forecast, and that's shown on the 7-day. Oh, don't forget, Ken, you can always catch the updates on ONNJ.com/weather. New page, updates all the time, and you can catch the forecast there as well.
Look at you going independent, just breaking out. I'm so proud of you. You make me want to cry. Oh, all right. Meteorologist Mike Pavetta, thank you so much. Enjoy your day. And we'll be checking that out on the website. You too. You got it. It is now 41 degrees in northern New Jersey at 8:51. And before I talk about Governor Murphy, traffic here we should talk about. I-295 southbound, south of exit 43, which is in Mount Laurel Township. We have a crash with injuries, 2 left lanes. And both shoulders closed, causing some delays through there. Again, that's 295 southbound, south of exit 43 in Mount Laurel Township. Overturned vehicle and a traffic signal down Route 130 in both directions north of New Jersey 73. That's in Cinnaminson Township. 2 left lanes closed northbound, 1 left lane southbound is closed. Crash on the Turnpike outer roadway. That is by northbound, south of interchange 13, which is 278 by the Goethals Bridge in Linden. We have a center lane blocked. Disabled tractor trailer, Port Street eastbound, approaching Doremus Avenue in Newark, 1 left lane blocked. We have a disabled tractor trailer on Corbin Street southbound, approaching Marsh Street in Newark, or Newark as they pronounce it locally, 1 left lane blocked. Route 322, there's a crash utility pole down in both directions west of Route 54 in Folsom. All lanes closed, being detoured eastbound, and all lanes are closed westbound, so use caution through there. We also have an overturned vehicle, I-78 westbound, east of exit 29 in Bridgewater Township, 2 left lanes closed. Garden State Parkway crash northbound, south of exit 135, Central Avenue, Clark Township. All lanes are open, though. And emergency construction and that sinkhole repair still on I-80 eastbound at exit 34. Everybody's being detoured off. We have a vehicle fire also on I-80 westbound, west of 64, Summit Avenue in Lodi. 2 right lanes closed. It is a busy traffic day. 8:53, Governor Murphy delivered his final budget address yesterday and preached fiscal responsibility. We do have a caller. Yes, okay. We'll go to the caller in a minute. Governor Murphy delivered his final budget address yesterday, preached fiscal responsibility while asking for support of his $58.1 billion funding plan. That's the highest in New Jersey's history. The address was live here on New Jersey, and it was positively accepted by some, not so much by others. He also proposed that 16-year-olds get to vote for school board members. Cut 6, Pam.
And in our ongoing efforts to protect the fundamental rights of every New Jerseyan, our budget will also defend our most fundamental right as Americans, the right to vote. Over the next year, we're going to work alongside our rockin' Lieutenant Governor and Secretary of State, Tahisha Way, to continue protecting and expanding voting rights with a particular focus on youth voting rights. Our budget will provide grants to municipal leaders all across the state to create new opportunities for 16 and 17-year-olds to vote in local school board elections. Just as they are already doing in our state's largest city, the brick city, Newark, New Jersey.
Never heard a lieutenant governor referred to as rockin'. The proposed budget, though, includes a structural deficit. That means they are $26 billion in the hole. They're hoping for a federal bailout for that. Well, check this out. Stop what you're doing and look at your screen. There's shocking video from Chicago's Midway Airport circulating on social media yesterday showing a near miss between a Southwest Airlines flight and an unauthorized FlexJet business jet on a runway. Look at this. Watch him land. and watch the other jet come. And he says, that's going to be a mess. So the Southwest pilot properly did a go around. But the question is, why did the FlexJet flight come out? Apparently, he received instructions not to go out across that runway. So I'm sure that's going to be a big meeting. It is now 8:55. Let us go to our caller right now on the phone. Good morning, caller. This is Ken. Welcome to On New Jersey Mornings. What can we do for you today?
Hi, Ken. I was just, this morning I was seeing about the governor's budget, and I saw some highlights on Facebook from my assemblywoman, and I noticed that there was nothing in there about infrastructure. And I remember quite a few years ago, there was a big push about how bad our infrastructure is. And I remember at the time, Chris Christie raised our taxes on gas, and supposedly that extra money was to go towards infrastructure. Since then, you haven't heard anything about it, at least I haven't. And since then, we've had bridges falling down, we've had sinkholes. I'm currently sitting on 15. I've been like about a half hour. I think I've gone 2 miles. And I'm wondering, like, all this money that you're spending, all this deficit we have, how about people's safety as they drive the roads?
Susan, I think, and it's Susan I see calling here. You're calling from Morristown. Thank you for that call. You nailed it. The governor did not talk about infrastructure much. He did a little bit. He addressed it literally in one sentence. But one thing to look forward to is our David Wildstein pointed out that this is a very preliminary plan, and you will have the legislature on both sides, both the Assembly and the Senate, dealing with the intricacies. But you know what? We will put his feet to the fire. We're going to talk to him about that. I'll make sure that comes up. And I thank you for the call. Please call back again. That is a great call. Great. Thank you so much, Susan. Have a great day. You bet. That's
you too.
She nailed it on that. You bet. Thank you. All right. It is now 41 degrees at 8:57. Meteorologist Mike Favetta says it'll be sunny than yesterday, a little windy today, highs in the upper 50s. And that is On New Jersey Mornings for your Wednesday. I'm Ken Rosato. Remember, you could stream us on ONNJ.com, Roku, Fire TV, News On, Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, YouTube, Facebook, and X. And now we stream live on Rumble and Twitch. Just go to twitch.tv/OnNewJersey. That's all spelled out, ONNEWJERSEY. We're going to be on more platforms too, and some other means of getting to you. So please stay tuned. If you like what you see, please keep listening and watching. And if you don't, call up and tell us what to do. We want to hear from you. We'll catch you again tomorrow morning at 7. Tell your friends about us. Until then, thanks for watching and have a great day.